Hi folks, I'm Alan Watt and this is Cutting Through the Matrix. I'm discussing this banking crisis and trying to let the listeners know that nothing happens suddenly in this big economic system. And for most of the public, they're unaware that so much has happened in the last 20 years especially to do with banking and trade and so on, due to big international agreements, generally spearheaded by the United Nations. And remember, the United Nations, when it was set up, had mandates to take over basically all the functions of national governments and be a world government. It still is. That's its purpose. That's why it was set up. And back in the 90s, I think it was, in France, every country that had signed on to the United Nations signed agreements there to do with free trade, and that was a precursor to the signing of the GATT treaty. But it was a separate part. It was to do with foreign investment in countries, where they opened the door for foreign investment into every country of the West. Not only opened the door to foreign investment, but they said that the laws of those countries could not stop corporations coming in or even factories coming in and paying minimum wage as they would back in their own country. In other words, someone from China could open up a factory if they wanted to and pay them Chinese wages. And if the government of your country said, no, we have a minimum wage standard of $7 or $8 or whatever it is, then that country could then sue your country, and they were guaranteed to win millions before they'd even set up a stake in the ground. So that's happened. And this is all to tie the countries together internationally. That's part of what they mean by global interdependence. And no member of the public was allowed in to hear the proceedings of those meetings. And that's how this democracy really works. I think one Canadian agency was allowed to go in and voice some concerns. And this particular agency that supposedly spoke for Canada, this NGO group, came out and said all they discussed was that this new trade organization for the world, an investment organization, should pay their workers fair wages. That's no kidding. So the general public don't know what's going on. They don't know that out of this crisis is to come a new financial type of system. We're being trained step by step into this new system, and the public will go along with it because they panic. They believe the media. They don't know anything else except what the media tells them. It never occurs to them to study the histories of the big organizations that are coming forward with all their suggestions. They don't study the United Nations or even the banking system. The banking system is fraudulent, of course, because it's backed on, money is backed with nothing. It's an obligations type deal, an IOU. They pass IOUs all around the world. It's a debt system. So you have paper money backed with nothing. Guaranteed that when they want to pull the plug, it's just a domino effect. Nothing but faith keeps it going. And they could keep this going as long as they wanted to, believe you me, for another 100 years if they wanted to. The reason it's changing now is to train the public into a new way of living, and a new form of commerce eventually will come out of it. In the long run, it might take years, but in the long run, it's a new form of commerce and living into a new society.